we have returned, and the party, I finally got them to split. So that means I can send ninjas after them and punish them for the error of their ways. And by that, I mean we're gonna go to Bright, who is wandering through the town of Breeze Bane and making her way over to some of the pastures where there are cows being tended to by some dwarven farmers slash ranchers. Mordecai has taken off to go visit the passing by differently modeled airship. The Norlai slash Loki siblings have gone to the town school, and Selena's gone to the edge of town where the old graveyard is. So we're gonna pick up with what they learn in this short time before they're summoned to the civic center by Galvin in order to then go on an evening hike to get to the king of the mountain who lives in the hills. Interesting arrangement. Bright, you might be able to get some information about that. You've wandered through the paths. There's people who've given you friendly remarks. You know, good day. Seems to be the phrase to you. A couple, you've probably learned what the word is in normal Dwarvish, not just accented common. So friendly enough. You are getting some odd looks. Some kids that aren't at school for one reason or another will run by or ask some questions, but they seem to be doing their own thing. And while you may be a stranger in a strange land, it seems to be rather accommodating in that regard. But anyway, you come up to the gate that is for this fenced-in area, and there is a farmhand who's standing here. Actually, probably leaning against the gate and just kind of lazily watching out over the field. The river will run past it, and there's another farmhand or rancher who's further afield. And nothing too busy. He might be whittling something. It looks like he might be holding a knife or an implement of some kind in his hands. He's sort of like lazily doing something to keep himself occupied. So in this moment, what do you say or do as you are, I guess you're on the road, unless you wish to immediately go into their property, but here you are.
No, I don't need to barge on in. I'll just wave and good day.
Oh, good day. Can I help you, ma'am?
I'm just passing through. We're visitors here. We won't be here too long. I just thought I'd stop by and see if you needed any help. I can do a lot of things.
Oh, you're looking for day work, huh?
I mean, not exactly work. Well, yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, anything you need help with. I mean, if you just need me to shovel manure, I can do that. But I can do a lot of interesting things.
Oh, wait now. You're the guest of the Cranberras.
Yeah, that's me. I'm one of them. You can call me
Yeah.
Bright. Or anything else you want to call me that sounds fun.
Oh, sure, there's a lot of names that we could call you. I don't know how many of them you've deserved, at least not yet. Ha ha!
I probably deserve quite a few of them, actually. But we can talk
don't be
about
so
that
modest. He continues to kid. I mean, you're not, but he is.
Yeah. So anyway, my name's Bright. What about you? And yeah, I mean, if you have like a lost sheep I could find, or anything that, I don't know. I can do lots of things.
No sheep on this farm, though. There are some down the road a piece if you wanted to go that way. No, right now today, yeah, we got the dairy cows afield eating, so they can get full up on milk. I suppose if you want, you can help with that.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Sure. tell you what, it won't hurt them any. Well, unless you have you ever done that before? Have you ever milked a cow?
No, gnomes don't keep cows. They're too big for us, and they're just too hard to for us to take care of. We sometimes have some goats. You know those little tiny goats? We keep those.
Can't say I've ever heard of a goat, but oh, I believe you. Animals come in all shapes and sizes, just like you. Look at you to us.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I can give it a try.
Well, all right then. Let's see. Looks over, shouts to the other in Dwarven something. There's an exchange back and forth, and pointing over to one of the cows. Then the guest who tells you his name is Ace says, "Oh, all right. Looks like this one actually. This one might have been missed. Oh, look at the udders on her. Swollen, I tell you. All right, let's go. You got a job to do. You got to relieve her."
Okay. Yeah. I'll give it a try.
Sure, come on in.
Okay.
He
I'll
goes
give it a
over.
try.
He approaches and starts pulling the cow off to the side here, so he can tie it to the fence. Let's see. Well, we're gonna need a bucket for this, otherwise you're just wasting it. Tell you what, why don't you stay here with the cow? I'm gonna go to the barn. I'll be right back.
Okay.
You're alone with that cow. There is the other farmhand, who's a good distance off in the field, and there's the herd of other dairy cows. But you are with the one cow over here. Do you wish to say or do anything?
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
Hello, Miss Cow. How are you doing today?
Oh, all right.
Oh. Oh. How are you? You sound kind of sad, or maybe just bored.
Oh, it hurts a little.
Oh, it hurts. Sorry to hear that.
My udders hurt.
Too much milk in them?
They didn't get me this morning.
Yeah, that's what I'm here to take care of. I haven't done it before, so you'll have to walk me through it. I hope that's okay.
I've never done it before either.
I mean, haven't you? Isn't it something that happens every couple of days?
I've not done it.
No, but you've been on the receiving end. So you've done that part before.
True.
You remind me of my friend DJ.
As you're talking, Ace comes up and he actually has a couple buckets here. One he actually sets down, pats it. Hey, you can sit right here. Boy, I haven't heard her be so chatty. Seems like you two are getting along famously.
Yeah, she's a very nice cow.
Oh, very happy. I bet she knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's something we have in common.
Oh, you don't know what's going to happen? Well, I'm here to teach. Look,
Okay.
worse it happens, you mess up, she kicks you in the face. Hopefully you don't die.
I don't think she'll do that, but we'll find out. I cast mage armor.
Shields up. Okay. So he sits you down, puts the bucket under there, and you are getting a very hands-on lesson in milking a cow. It takes a little while to get the hang of it. But, after a couple tries, maybe a couple misfires, you might have some milk on you. You
That's
are.
okay. These aren't my regular clothes. It doesn't really matter.
That's true. Yeah, these are the borrowed ones. Um, but yeah, you're doing it right. Uh, it's not too difficult. I guess you gotta get used to it.
Should I roll at animal
Now
handling?
under yeah, why not? Um,
We so rarely get to use it, and I only have +0.
all
12.
right. You don't murder the cow.
Well, that's good
Um,
to know.
not accidentally anyway. But I will tell you, being able to understand cute critters as the forest gnome that you are, I don't know if that somehow makes it a little awkward. Like the farmer's just, yeah, oh, she seems happy, and you're like, oh, she is. Um, as you are getting, sounds of happiness and relief from this poor cow. Um,
Okay.
but you're actually, you have your animal handling. I would like you to make a Constitution saving throw.
Did I get kicked?
No.
26.
Hey. Okay. But what does happen is you are able to find some efficient method, or maybe your hands were, small enough for the right size. That despite this being the first time you're milking a cow, you don't have massive hand cramps that might prevent you from making somatic gestures if the need for a spell
Oh,
arose.
well, that's good. Plus, I have 3 hands because I have the mage hand, and it can't get cramps.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. So you're probably, are you using the mage hand too?
Yeah, I'll use all 3 hands.
It's a bit baffling at first to the farmer. He tells you that's kind of efficient. Um, and he tells you that he's working on a way somehow to harness the energy that the breeze is giving the local windmill here, to see if he can invent some kind of like a machine that can do this more automatically, so that they don't have to waste
Oh,
time or cramp up their hands doing it themselves.
I mean, I'm sure you could do that. I know someone. His name is Gaspard, who likes to invent things, and he could probably invent something like that for you. Um, I don't know if I can talk to him right now because we're really far away, and a lot of times that doesn't work. But I could always try. But the thing is, once you start doing that sort of thing, it's very hard to go back. And I know it sounds like you'd be like, well, why would I ever want to go back? But think about what you're doing here. You're working with the cow. You're taking care of it. In a way, you're making friends with the cow, even if you can't talk to the cow. Maybe I can talk to the cow, but it's 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 just a good lifestyle here. And if you had a machine that could do it, you wouldn't have that hands-on connection with your cow anymore. And it wouldn't be, I mean, it'd be more efficient. You could have more cows, you could raise more cows and produce more milk, but you wouldn't enjoy it as much, and the cows certainly wouldn't enjoy it as much. So I
I
guess
don't
my
know.
advice would be think twice about whether you want to do that.
Oh, I've been thinking long and hard about it. I've been around cows all my life. Not that I don't mind being in their presence, but after a while you get sick of them. I mean, yeah, you're a visitor, and that's nice and all. You got to milk the cow, but I'm here stepping in their patties, their leavings every day. It's all nice and quaint in nature until you hear one take a minute long piss. It's just there's some things that maybe an efficiency would help.
Yeah. No, I don't think you should do it. I mean, I know it's no fun to step in. I could teach you a way to not have to deal with the cow patties quite so much. I don't know if we'll have enough time, but I could show you how to do it.
I mean, if it just means not stepping in it, that's what I've been doing or trying to do.
No, let me show you. Let me show you how to do this. Okay? So, I'll see if I can teach you. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Unseen Servant. We'll have to spend it. We'll have to do it as a ritual, but that's okay because he's learning it. So spending 10 minutes won't won't really be that much of a hardship.
All right, and what are you doing with your unseen servant?
I mean, she's going to pick up cow manure.
Oh, all right, all right. uh, so you're explaining this magical technique, and the farmer's wondering kind of what you're doing. Your unseen servant manifests and just goes over and picks up a cow patty.
Yeah. So what you have a stack. I'm sure you have a manure pile, don't you? I mean, I guess I could smell my way to it.
Yeah, if you want to add to it, I won't stop you from helping clean up and
Yeah.
disperse the fertilizer.
Yeah, so Betty, what you're going to need to do is pick up all the cow patties and put them in the manure pile. And then you're going to take we'll call it the processed manure once it's aged and has been properly treated to fertilize. And then you just go and sprinkle it in the pasture.
Your unseen servant doesn't talk back.
No, she's very
shoot.
nice. She's happy to help.
Quick note about that. As you go to manifest your oh no, hang on, this is unseen servant. Yeah, we're gonna do this all the same. You go to manifest your unseen servant, and where you would normally expect to see your or not see your unseen servant, you see your unseen servant. Your unseen servant manifests and looks like Professor Cypher.
I mean, that's kind of funny. So, this is a spell we usually call Unseen Servant, and usually it's a much more accurate name. This is more of a Seen Servant. And I don't really understand why. Number one, my Unseen Servant is a girl. She's like a, imagine like a really like stereotypical like 14-year-old milkmaid, just starting out on life and just learning. That's kind of what she normally looks like in my mind's eye. But instead I've conjured up this 50-year-old professor, which is not how she's supposed to look. So something must have gone wrong in the spell, and it wasn't a hand cramp. So I don't understand. But anyway, you can imagine your unseen servant to look like anything you want, because that's the best part about them being unseen.
I don't know if I have the ability to do that. And as this manifests as well, like Cypher shows up, almost like the emergency medical hologram in Voyager, as he manifests, and you get Bright.
Please state the nature of the condescending emergency.
This is not what I had intended. But here I am.
So wait. Are you really the professor? Professor?
He looks around, sees that he's standing in the middle of a pasture. There's you, there's Farmer Ace, and I mean, no, I'm not the professor. As well, okay, I am. Can I talk about this here?
Maybe we should,
As he starts walking towards a cow patty. Why am I walking in this direction?
You're gonna have to pick up that cow patty and put it in a pile.
for some relief, like your unseen servant manifests, but then manifests after you've given it the instructions. Like he fills in as your servant, and like he can't help himself. So you're having Professor Cypher go and actually pick up the cow. Bright, this is highly unorthodox, as he's just sort of bringing it over to the larger manure pile.
Yeah, but it's kind of fun though, isn't it? For me.
I believe, Bright, you and I might have different senses of fun. Well, anyway, he goes and starts walking over. So he's talking. I guess he doesn't have to think about this, about walking and moving and picking things up. He's talking to you as he's sort of on autopilot to follow your instructions that you gave to the unseen servant.
Yeah. So, um, I'll talk to the farmer here, and I'll say, yeah, things don't. This isn't usually how it goes. That's the great thing about magic is you never know what's going to happen next. Uh, we'll just kind of go with the flow sometimes and just see what happens. So yeah, Professor, go ahead and I mean, definitely keep picking up the cow patties. I definitely need you to keep doing that. But you can feel free to tell me whatever things you'd like to talk about as well.
For the record, this is highly undignified. He just reaches down, picks up another one, and is talking and walking. Anyway, it would seem that when when you were aboard the ship, he's looking at you like, can I say that word? As he's dropping another cow patty on the compost pile.
Yeah, it's okay. They're good people here. You could just call it the... I mean, well, I guess you've already called it the ship. So call it the ship. That's a good name for it. Because it's kind of what it was. Kind of.
Yes, well, again, he's still in the background, just going back and forth, collecting manure. So I needed to make a bit of a retreat with Selter and try and secure things. And he's walking and talking now. Continuing. When you had manifested Peggy Sue, I sort of reached out and, considering the circumstances of me and the ship, I was able to sort of carry along with her. I figured that it would be a way that I could more clandestinely... Oh, this is very unorthodox. That I could be able to communicate with you all rather clandestinely as needed because of the situation.
Wait,
I didn't quite expect
your hands to pick up those cow patties?
It would seem so.
Good, go on.
But yes, then it was simply a matter of time before I could manifest again as one of your conjurations. And, well, Bright, I guess here we are.
Yeah, so what happened to you? I mean, we never saw you after the ship. You know, we just haven't seen you, or Shelter, or DJ. I mean, I looked at all these cows around here, and they're not DJ.
No, that might be better for a conversation that's not here and now.
Okay, we can talk about it later.
I really expected to manifest as a 10-inch tall bird, not as a...
Well, yeah, how about that? Anyway, this is more fun though. Yeah. So can I call you back anytime this way?
That was the intention, is that you would be able to summon me forth and we would be able to communicate. I'm not really here, although I guess I am enough that this is very... I believe I've said undignified several times already, and I'll continue to do so. Even if it's in form only, Bright, this is not appreciated.
Okay.
Is your servant not just unseen? Can he go unheard too? He's doing an awful lot of pissing and moaning.
Yeah, he does that. It's a long story. Normally my unseen servant is much less complaining.
Yeah, hard to conjure good help these days, huh?
Yeah, it sure is. So anyway, Are there other things you need me to do around here? Because there's stuff that I'd like to talk to you about too.
There's a whole chore list of things that he'd be glad to dump off. I mean, help you learn around the farm. So while doing this, are there some particular nuggets that you would like to try and get from this farmer of knowledge, not just buffalo chips?
Yeah, there's plenty of nuggets.
Yeah.
Um, well, I want to learn about his farm and how long it's been here, and is it a family farm or something that he bought, and just how far back his history goes. Because I want to find out how far back his history goes, if you understand me.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then I, um, but I don't want to just come out and tell him that, because that's not interesting. He'll want to tell me all about the history, right? So that's what I'm going to let him do. And then also I want to talk to him about the king and find out like any gossip. Because
Okay.
that's the whole point, right? Is to find out the gossip.
Sure. So the things that you find out is that the farm is old. He doesn't necessarily have a date or one that would reckon with your understanding of the passage of ages and history and time, but they have been here for a long time. That would be competing or surpassing the history of Mesotopia. Now, the farm in its current form, like it's always just sort of grown. The invention and technology has changed. The windmills are something that have been around for some time. He even tells you that the Shadahar were coming in and really sort of stealing these ideas from the dwarves, though they were giving it their own bend. That they don't harness the wind for energy. He finds it very distasteful, but he's like, apparently they use the dead.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that either. But my friend Gaspard does it too, and I don't know. It's a little bit of a sticking point, to be completely honest. But it's also an emergency. So.
But you do
We'll see.
hear. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's all. I just musing.
All right. The hills do have some permanent residents who overwinter here. But for what you see above, all of these buildings have cellars, and there's even a lot of tunnels that connect underground. And part of that is for storage, and also part of that is for safety, both because the Imperials come by for regular business, which, while there's a tense relationship, there's honest business that's done. Sometimes there will be a cow patty in the flower field of a Shadahar representative who will come and try and coerce or bully or be an aggressor. But for
I
the
think
most,
most of the flower fields are cow patties, if you ask me.
meanwhile, in Mesomasca, uh, he tells you though that the people of Breeze Bane, besides the few permanent residents who hunker down, they pretty well go underground for the winter because it can get harsh. They will drive the cattle in the autumn back to Ailartsua, which is the dwarven name for the big mountain, not just the common name of Upova. And so he tells you that, come the harvest time, they get a bunch of food together, sheaves of wheat. They'll drive cattle. They'll get things canned and ready to go. And most of the residents of the countryside, not just of Breeze Bane, but the other villages, will actually return to the mountain to overwinter under the mountain. And then they'll come back out in the spring. And since the winter set in, he tells you like some farmers' presumptions or lore that, with the ice and the snow, it has sort of churned the soil, it's saturated it. The process of the freezing and the thawing and everything actually keeps the fields very fertile. While it is it's inhospitable for the most part to those above ground during that time, it actually tends to be very good for the land itself. And it's not, and they're happy to live with that natural cycle. They don't feel like they have the right to exist at all times, to to move against it. Because otherwise, if they actually had to burn wood all winter, the forests would have been, plundered and destroyed, or they would have
Yeah.
had to dig up. It's not that they don't use coal or they don't use wood, but the resources used would be far more, and for maybe even in effect to a similar effect of, well, we're not going any, if we're going to hunker anyway, we might as well be with the land and not just go and be with our kinfolk over the winter. Or we could just let nature take its course and, revitalize the fields. And so you're getting a very well earthy set of farmers lore and the natural history of this place. He doesn't know too much about the history of this place. Also, Dark Watchers, thank you for coming back in a raid. Welcome to you all. And so yeah, he's giving you that sort of info from the land, from the farmer's perspective, from the rancher's perspective. And he'll tell you, he can tell you some about the mountain because he's been to the mountain before on cattle drives and supply runs. And, you get a basic idea of, oh yeah, people are here and, all the sights to see. It would be in effect the big city of, compared to the
Yeah.
countryside here is the gist that you're picking up. That's the place where, people practice the arts or higher learning. People like you as a magician can more or less be found, rather than out here in
Yeah.
the country.
Gotcha. And is that just all Ailartsua, or is there a special name for that?
That is, so he'll tell you that is the name of the mountain. It's technically the name of the lands surrounding the mountain as well, but it is more the mountain itself because they view the mountain as the, well, kind of a central pillar of the land. So the lands around it now, while this is called the Queen's Land, like this is also Ailartsua, but that is more in reference to the mountain itself. So
Yeah. It's a good infernal name. Is your language related to infernal?
I don't know what you're talking about, ma'am.
Okay. Just
Oh wait,
wondering.
you talking about I think I've heard of that. It's what the Eatlins speak, right?
Yeah, exactly. Ailartsua, it really sounds like a word in that language.
Yeah, well, for a lot of people who don't understand Dwarvish, they just think it's because we make good beer.
Yeah.
Ale is an art. You get it?
Or reeb as they call it in infernal. Yeah. So all this talking about the land kind of just brings something to mind. Have you ever thought about how much the land gives you? And I don't mean that. I mean, I kind of mean that metaphorically, but I also mean it literally, if that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, that's okay too. I just came from a place where nothing makes any sense. So
uh,
it hasn't all worn off just yet.
I'm not quite sure I follow. You mean the land gives me grief? The land gives me grass? Land gives me a place to
It
piss? Land
does.
gives me a place to lay down in the sun?
Yeah. But it's so much more than just a place to pee, right? I mean, everything you have here comes from the land, and the land gives you that freely.
Oh, I
Ever thought about
suppose.
it?
I
Yeah.
mean, there's something that goes into it, but what you put into it's also what you can get out of it too.
Yeah, exactly. So think about those milking machines you were thinking of. Doesn't that change the balance? Instead of it being something that the land gives you, granted, the cow gives it to you, but the cow eats grass from the land, so that it's given to you from the land. If you set up a milking machine, all of a sudden you've broken that chain, and it's no longer a gift from the land. It's now something that you're forcing to happen.
Oh well, but it's not just the land. You see, we got the river going through, and then of course, this here is Breeze Bane. I wouldn't even be taken from the land. The breeze itself is what would be powering it, using what's around you, right? It may not be dirt, but it's a resource that can be used like the dirt to provide this and that.
Yeah, yeah. But see, that's exactly what I mean when you're thinking about using resources instead of accepting gifts. That's all. I don't think it's the healthiest way to think about it, and I know that doesn't make sense to you. Just keep in mind what I've told you, please.
I mean, it's Oh, I've been called crazy for my idea, but
Oh, I'm sure it would work. I'm
you
sure it
know,
would work. I don't think you're crazy at all.
you have an
I just don't
outsider
think you should do it.
perspective. You see things from a different angle, not just because you're short. Says the dwarf to the gnome.
You know, I'm not that much shorter than you. Just a little. Anyway, do you have anything else you need me to do, or anything else? Any other stories you want to tell me?
He'll go over. Yeah, you'll be doing things until the bell rings. So the major, I guess, out of character like nuggets would be, farming knowledge of the land, history of the land, kind of a thing, and the kind of the migratory behavior of the dwarves when it comes time to
Yeah,
for winter and harvest, and a preview of what is in the mountain that now has a name.
yeah. No, that all makes a lot of sense. Okay. So, did I find out how far back his history goes? Like in terms of years or at least generations?
The generations he's describing, you can extrapolate. It doesn't have a same sync up as your concept of Mesotopian eras and histories, but he can describe things that would go back to before Mesotopia as you know it.
Okay. I guess the last thing I would want to ask is, in those ancient times, were there more like fantastic creatures like dragons and giants and things?
Oh yeah, stories are full of them, but they haven't been around for some time. In fact, well, I saw you traveling with them, and look, I ain't gonna presume what your attitude is, uh, but the Eatlands is called Eatlands for a reason. Rumor has it, you didn't hear this from me, if it would cause poor relations with your company. They're the ones that ate the dragons. Why do you think they look like they do? A lot of people might say it's it's a cow patty of a story. I don't personally know, but it would seem to make sense if people went from looking like people to looking like them.
Well, that is an interesting story. Very interesting. And I'm not going to blame people for something that their ancestors did thousands of years ago. Even if that's how they got this way, it doesn't reflect on them.
Oh sure, I bet your one buddy is is all right and fine. I can't say that he's the one responsible. He wouldn't have been alive at the time. I wasn't even alive at the time. I can't necessarily hate him for it, but I can simply, listen to the stories of my elders, maybe learn a lesson, and pass it on. So there you go. If your buddy ever has a hankering for a dragon, that might explain why.
No, I think that my friend that I conjured up is the one with the hankering for a dragon.
You servant?
Yeah,
You magic people. It's beyond my ken. But
I
look,
tried.
if I don't know if he has any unnatural desires or hungers, so to put it, but again, I can only pass on what I've been told by my father and his father before him, etc., into into the past.
And I'm so happy that you're passing that on to me. Gnomes love stories, and it's been harder and harder to hear them recently. So I'm really glad that you're telling me them. And anything else you want to tell me, I want to hear it.
Oh boy, do I!
I
And
really do.
we'll have a sort of a fade to black on Bright segment here as he goes into uh all kinds of rumors, I heard my neighbors are blah blah blah, and it's quaint small folk stuff of the countryside that you're getting, the local news. But you can pick up some juicy gossip along the way. And then at some point you will hear the bell and probably have to excuse yourself to go up to the civic center up here.
Yeah, of course.
Uh,
So it's been nice to meet you, and thank you very much for your stories. It really does mean a lot to me.
Yeah, well, thank you for doing my chores. He goes to give you a shoulder ribbing, and once more, like, it might already be sore a little bit from before, but you get something that's meant for a dwarf, and it just really, like, rattles your bones as he gives you a playful nudge on your shoulder.
I've had worse.
All right. Meanwhile, and also back in time, because we took Bright through the course of her afternoon going into evening. Mordecai, you are on a flight over the town of Breeze Bane, up to try and intercept this interestingly shaped airship. Now, your approach, are you zooming in like super fast? Are you taking your time? Are you shouting? Are you making fireworks? Are you trying to be invisible or clandestine? What are your thoughts on your approach over, like, to the airship and your presentation over the town? You're muted.
Hot. But
There
yes,
we go.
I'm not being particularly clandestine about it.
Okay.
I'm gonna be like waving as I'm approaching, kind of a thing. I don't want to spook nobody.
Okay. Let's see.
So I want them to be aware that I am approaching.
Oh, look, Bright's already there. And you too, actually. Well, that's...
How about that?
How about that?
Yeah, how about that? History repeats itself, I guess.
I suppose it do.
So we're just gonna move Bright off the map. And I guess we're using old vampiric Mordecai, because your token's already here and I'm lazy. So as you are approaching, you're waving, shouting, like you're trying to make yourself obvious on the approach.
Yeah, pretty much. Just being fairly obvious about it. Don't want to spook anybody. A person flying at them might spook them a little bit, but I'm not trying to look hostile or of any in any way. I don't have like my staff or anything like that like presented or nothing. Just approaching slowly as slowly as I can anyway. With only 10 minutes of flight.
Yeah.
But
okay. Now the ship, as you're getting closer, this ship actually looks more close to this picture than the original incarnation, which was sort of a placeholder for the Shadahar variety that had the weird humming donut engines and such.
Right.
You're seeing these windmill-looking structures. You're seeing a more traditional wooden-looking ship, and there is a balloon, like a large cloth held above it. You are getting these tanks, and they go up into the balloon to do something. So what you're seeing is a lot more like what you're seeing here with this image. On your approach, there are two people on deck, both of them dwarves, of course. One of them is staying behind the wheel, and the other has grabbed some kind of it's a spear, but it also has a hook on it, either to poke or to grab with the hooked part. And is cautiously walking over to the side of the ship where you're approaching. Isn't holding it aggressively, but is giving you a bit of a stink eye and holding the weapon up as you're getting closer.
Oh, I was just, swinging by because I thought this airship looked nice. Can I come aboard?
You are shouted to? question mark? The words are loud, but it is in Dwarven. Maybe a little bit harsher sounding of a language. This person might not understand you, and the captain, or at least the one who's currently piloting the ship, shouts down in Dwarven something, and the one holding the hook, probably it's a younger guy, backs off a little bit and puts the butt of the hooked spear on the deck, and gives you a beckoning motion. He doesn't put the spear down, but he is having you land on the deck.
Okay. Yeah, I'll approach.
What are you doing here? Shouts the one behind the wheel.
I'm a tinkerer. This vessel intrigues me. We came in on a Shadahar ship, and this looks very different from a Shadahar ship.
Ah, you're the one that came in on that. Well, pardon the stink eye, but the only time I see folk of your kind are when the Shadahar are visiting. Seems like they did, just not in the way that maybe they intended.
Perhaps.
Who are you? What's your name?
My name is Mordecai Silverleaf. I assure you, I am not Shadahar.
Yeah, you don't sound like it. Your accent's all screwy.
Mesomaskin, actually.
Yeah, it sounds really weird how you pronounce your R's and your W's and the other things.
And they sound equally weird to me, so...
Yeah, it's all common to me. Name's Windar, what can I do? You said you're interested in the ship, but you can fly. Why are you up here?
Oh, like I said, I'm a tinkerer. I have always had a knack for the mechanical things, and I don't know. This just seemed interesting. I wanted to see if I could kind of watch. I got nothing better to do for several hours.
He talks to the young man who's holding the hooked spear. There's a short exchange, and both of them laugh rather heartily. And you can just pick up they're laughing at you, or at least the circumstances regarding you. Mordecai, long name. Want something shorter. You don't got nothing to do? Why don't you sit at the front of the ship, let the breeze blow through your hair. Don't touch. You can look. Maybe I'll answer a question if I'm not busy. But pop a squat and I guess enjoy the ride. But if we gotta work, we work. You get out of the way.
Perfectly understandable. Do not let me stop you from doing your job.
There's another exchange between the two. You feel maybe the captain? He never really said he was Captain Windar. But whoever's piloting it might be translating to the young deckhand.
Mm-hmm.
And
might be making a comment at my expense a couple of times.
Probably. There's a couple other gestures and jokes. You do hear the term Eatlin made a couple times, and but they are continuing to fly over the town of Breeze Bane. It's a nice day. You're in the shade of the balloon. But now that you are here and you're getting used to the sound of the wind passing by, etc., etc., go ahead and make a perception check.
Okay, perception check. I picked it. There it goes. 12.
Okay. Yeah, it's a nice day. The ruffling of the cloth above you The sounds of the ship as it sort of creaks and groans on occasion. The pilot, after some point, you're sort of cruising along, tells you that Morty, we're gonna be landing. I don't know if you've done this before, at least not with your own, not with your own feet. You might want to hold on just in case it gets a little bumpy.
Oh, sure. And Mordecai's going to brace himself.
You start a descent, and the boat begins to rock and jitter. Pretty, not badly, like it's going to shake apart and destroy itself in the air. But it's kind of a rough descent, as it's beginning to wobble. Go ahead and make a dexterity saving throw, please.
Oh, Lord. This is just my luck.
Okay, 12.
Hmm.
You don't fall completely on your butt, but as you're holding onto the railing, like your feet kind of slip out from under you, and you fall, and it's almost like an awkward fall on your tail, but you're able to catch yourself right before you would like sit on your own tail. And after that happens, both the dwarves bust out laughing, and the descent smooths pretty significantly before you actually have a very delicate touchdown in the grass beside a farmhouse. Morty, did good job holding on. Now,
Thanks.
you got to ride. You got to make yourself useful. I want you to hop down, carry some things in.
I will do my best.
And as you the gate on the side opens, and there's a ramp that the assistant flips up from the deck, creating its own little wedge descending down. It plays into the angle of the deck as well. And you walk down, and there's at least one other dwarf that was in the hull who opens a side panel, and inside you see all kinds of milk cans and crates and other things like that. And there's a lot of Dwarven being spoken back and forth between the various crew here. And Windar tells you, grab something, bring it in, follow them.
And I will do exactly as I am instructed.
And you see that these dwarves are, they're made for carrying. You approach one of these milk cans and brace yourself. Give me an athletics. You go and you're like, you're ready for this. You pick it up, and you almost stagger back again. You don't quite get close to falling on your tail, but you do. You're surprised. It seems like this milk can is actually empty, so you can handle it fairly well. Maybe I don't know if you could if you could handle two at a time, but yeah, it's an empty can.
Oh, all right. I'll carry an empty can.
Okay. As you go about this labor, you find that everything that this ship has are empty containers that are being put back into a barn that's also a warehouse where there's a lot of other containers.
I'm definitely looking at the ship though, as far as observing with my eyes at what the mechanics of this thing is.
Yeah. Now you still have tinkering as a background skill, right?
I do, yes.
Go ahead and roll that.
Okay. Do you want that as tinkering tools with advantage or something? Or just an intelligence check? What do you want?
Well, do you still have that as your? Because all of you should have a background skill, like a custom skill, right? A specialty.
Right, but let's see. Advantage on checks when inspecting or determining the origin of mechanical objects. So, what stat do you want me to use for that?
Use int.
Int. So, an advantage on an intelligence check. Okay. 17. Not bad.
So you see that the tanks that were above the deck continue down below, and they are a big part of whatever is powering or fueling this thing. In the glimpses you get as you go into the hull of the ship, you grab something, you sneak a peek, you're trying to figure it out, and you come back out. It would seem that somehow fire is involved. There's like a small furnace that's a part of this.
Makes sense. Makes a
But
lot of sense.
but you haven't, like, there hasn't been a plume of black smoke, and nothing has had a smell to it. So something is burning, but it's not producing an odor or really even smoke. Or if it is, it's not visible or detectable.
That's the part that's unusual.
Yeah.
Okay. I go up to what did he say his name was? The captain
Windar.
guy? Windar. I go up to Windar when we're fairly close to finished. Just kind of looking at this thing. What does it run on? I'm curious what the fuel source is.
Gas first.
Well, it's not coal or any kind of oil or propellant of any kind, because that would produce a smoke. There's no smoke produced. So it's something odorless, something invisible, something arcane, maybe?
You may have more brains than brawn, but regarding this, you sure are stupid. It's a compliment. Take it.
Sure. Then what does it run on?
What if I told you it ran on cow farts?
Cow farts.
Yeah, sure,
It
close
does-
enough. Wait a minute, you might understand it.
It doesn't smell like manure.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't.
Wouldn't manure make a smell when it's burnt?
No, manure.
You mean actual farts?
Yeah, maybe not from a cow, at least not all the time. Look, I don't know how it's like for you where you come from. Everyone farts. The trees, the grass, the cows. He rips one himself. Me.
Sure. But it's a chemical reaction.
It's a natural reaction. I don't know, chemical. What are you talking about?
You said farts. Farts are air protruded from one's posterior, and they smell awful. So...
Yeah, not all farts. Look. Maybe it's something you gotta see to believe. Let me just tell you. We harness the farts from the land, we put it into a tank, and it goes from there. It makes the Bernie happen. Bernie lifts the ship. The things behind you, the propellers, they propel us. That's why they're called propellers. It ain't hard.
Okay. I think I understand. some gases are in fact flammable in a gaseous form. However, that is only part of the questions I wanted to ask. So I heard that the king and the queen. What are their names?
Victor and Victoria.
Victor and Victoria. They don't reside in the same palace or even section of this country.
Look, what? Maybe I gave you too much credit for your brains. This isn't news. This isn't.
I'm new to this place. Why? What's the gossip behind that? Why is that?
Gossip. He turns to the crew who are sort of taking a break and must repeat the word gossip in Dwarven, and then give some context, and they all just sort of bust out like laughing and are having an absolute blast apparently. Gossip history. It's been that way for a long time.
The same king and queen for a long time?
Not necessarily the same, but the living apart.
Oh. Then how do they go about what they do as far as leading?
How did you get here? Did you just trip, fall, and end up here? You ain't from Shadahar.
Pretty much. You saw that big rift kind of open up in the sky yesterday? That was us.
Did you hit your head?
Eh.
That might explain a few things. Look, it's been that way ever since there was a falling out, I guess you could say, between us and the Shadahar.
Uh-huh.
So, the king and the queen live apart, so it can't happen again.
That's interesting.
Now look, I'll tell you more, but you gotta work. Unload, and maybe on the way back, I can tell you more, but right now we got a job to do.
That's perfectly fine. And
yep. Make another athletics for me. Actually, no, not in athletics. I want you to make a strength saving throw. This is more of an endurance than.
Wouldn't that be Constitution then?
Not necessarily. Like, Bright was in that for the long haul doing a minor task, which was more of a long-term low strain. This is hauling. They're empty containers, but these are. This is more of a muscular, a total body muscular fatigue than just an endurance with your hands.
But.
Okay. So, you remember? Okay, lift with your back. Wait, no! Don't lift with your back! Don't lift it. Don't heal spell. All right. Lift with your legs, not your back. Got it. I'm not forcing you to use a heal spell. That was a part of the setup, right? Anyway, so you actually you get through it. You're not as like these dwarves. Like now that you're watching them work, they certainly have a not that the ones that live in Breeze Bane are weak by any means, but these ones seem really hardy. Like they are just nonstop, picking up 2 things at a time, carrying it and dropping it off, coming back, just trudging and carrying and lifting, and so that they have a more of a longer endurance and or like a greater strength than these. Oh, wait a minute, Galvin might have talked about that, where there's like the cousins, and now that you've heard him talk to you in common, it has a kind of a dwarven accent that you heard from the country, the hill dwarves. but this one has a different twang to it. You might actually be speaking to these quote unquote mountain dwarves.
But they don't sound like the dwarves that we met back in Mesomaska and Browbeat.
Not necessarily, no, because that was a different accent. That was probably closer to the pure dwarvish mixed with the local take, the Mesotopian common, than the Shadahar, where there was a different stress. Now, out of character, the ones in Browbeat did have a more like a Swedish accent. But at least when they're speaking common to you here, you're getting a similar twang to the country dwarves, but that is a dwarvish inflection mixed with the Shadahar common, and not the more local, softer common that you'd find further south. So we're making a language map of interaction here. But these mountain dwarves are they have a slightly, well, I mean, there's a sample size of 3, but they do seem to carry themselves a bit differently than even their country cousins do, and they have a different twang to the way that they speak common.
Very interesting indeed. All right. Well, in that case, I'm going to continue helping them.
Sure.
Until such a time that they don't need my help anymore.
So you unload a bunch of empty containers, and then you're going to get back on the ship, and he's going to tell you that they're going to go to a pickup location, and they're going to fill it up, and he'll take you that far. But after that, he's going to turn around and make the trip back to a place called Ailartsua, which is now your first hearing your first hearing of the term that he says is the name of the mountain. And then he corrects it and says, well, it's all the lands around here, but it's primarily the mountain.
Ailartsua. It's very jumbled.
Yeah, well, it's because you can't speak the language.
Well, but, what's at this Ailartsua?
Our entire society.
Fair. Like, cities?
One. It's a big one, too. What you see here, look, I don't know how you got this far. If you came this far, then, if this has amazed you, wait till you get to the mountain. Not that I'm taking you.
No, Galvin, I believe, is going to be taking us.
Ah, yeah, I know him.
What's your take on Wee-Jas?
I take it that you don't say that name on this ship.
Why not? Is it taboo?
Yeah. You could say it, or actually, don't.
Why is it taboo?
Why don't you just stand here and piss yourself in front of me? Some things you just don't do.
Like I said, I'm for foreigner.
Yeah, well, I told you it's taboo, and you're going to ask me, why is it taboo? It just is. Now, don't do it.
I'm just curious. I mean, this is all very new to me, and so, as a as a person trying to learn about your society, I am eager to figure out what is taboo and what is not, and potentially, if you know any, some reasons why, just in case I don't want to offend anyone. My appearance offends most people around here, I'm sure.
If you're gonna offend... Yeah, it does, actually. But if you're gonna offend anyone, you might as well offend me. Come up here. I'll take the scenic route as we get to the next stop. I have to learn you a few things.
Please. If you would.
Now, do you know why you call it Eatlin?
No. I don't know what that word even means.
'Cause your people are the ones why there ain't no dragons. You ate them. That's why you look like you do. How don't you know this? This is common.
That's not necessarily what's taught in Mesotopia.
Huh.
Why we look the way we do is not something that many in Mesotopia actually concern themselves over.
Well, it's just like the whole ending of a golden age of paradise and everything. No big deal. You bite the hand that feeds you, and this is what happens. But look, I don't hold you responsible. I only know the tales. I don't know. You got personal suffering? Have at it. It's yours. I'm not going to share in it. But if you hear someone call you an Eatlin, that's why.
Okay.
Yeah, it just means you're a monster. Now, moving on. There's a little...
That's a word that I find a little harsh.
Yeah, well, you're not from here. You got horns and claws. You can summon fire. You're a monster. Yeah?
I suppose if you want to get into an essentialist definition of a monster.
I don't know what kind of a definition to call it, but it is what it is. Look, I'm not going anywhere. I'm giving you a ride. I'm even telling you this. So,
okay.
I don't care. You've carried yourself nicely. You haven't, I don't know, you haven't eaten anyone in Breeze Bane, have you?
No, nor do I plan to.
Oh, good. Then we can get along. Besides, it's very clear you're not from here, and honestly, if any Eatlins is worth being feared for, it's the Shadahar ones. Those are the ones that are actually closer to the monster. The mother of monsters, I guess you could say.
Well, the mother of monsters is actually dead.
I thought you didn't know this. What?
If you're talking about a very large, kind of devilish tiefling woman, yes, she's dead.
I don't know. That could be anyone. That could be your mom. If so, I'm sorry for your loss. I don't know. I just know that at some point, there's the mother of monsters. She ate the dragons. She went on. She had a pile of kids. And now here you are standing by my side on this ship. So.
Yep.
Why do we have bad blood with the Shadahar? Well, I'll tell you. If you're going to listen. You going to listen? All right, then. Shut up and listen. And so you're cruising. He's giving you pleasantries during your cruise, and it's nice. I mean, the countryside from this angle, it's nice and rolling, very pristine. The water just sparkles in the sun. There's just something about the grass on this side is actually greener. Like the mountains here, even compared to the mountains of Mesomasca, are just somehow more mountainy. It's like a color filter or a veil was lifted from even the incredible sights that are in Mesomasca and Mesotopia surrounding. Maybe it's your attunement with the land or your seeking of it. This seems much more pure. Or it seems almost like, in comparison, it's like you're in a living grayscale back in Mesomasca, Mesotopia, really as a whole. Like, green is still
There's a
green,
veil.
blue is blue, but man, there's just something, some intangible cataract in your eye, a fog in the air, but there's just something here that is, man, why is everything just more? Someone ramped up the saturation. Like, the trees are greener, the water is bluer, that kind of a thing. Like, even this mountain air. And you were just at the monastery, which was kind of nice in its own way, very refreshing. But even then, there's just, man, it is a palpable difference to you being here as opposed to being back where you were. Anyway, as the story goes on, and I will speak more clearly and not in accent, just so you can better pick up on it. You are reinforced that Victor Io is the king, and Victoria Io is the queen. The king lives in the hills of the countryside, but rules over the mountain. The queen lives in the mountain and rules over the countryside. They were split up because of a very traitorous, in this dwarf's opinion, act by the Shadahar. Sometime after the humans had and the tieflings had established themselves as Shadahar, as Shadahar, like the Imperial City, had grown. The Shadahar and Ailartsua came into more and more contact with each other. And as that contact increased, so too did the interactions, which led to one of the bigger entries in some supposed book of grudges that these dwarves keep, which is the supposed abduction, murder of the dwarven king, and the abduction of the dwarven queen and her sisters, such that there were no royal, direct royal dwarves that were left. And it was supposed that the Shadahar, well, he won't say supposed, but he's speaking with a lot of vitriol. You can, the language isn't confirming, but that agents of Shadahar had killed the king, and his name is King Bahamut Tamroth. And I'll type that into our chat for you. Or, I'm sorry, Tamworth. I reversed my... There we go. The king was murdered, and the queen and her sisters were abducted. And the dwarves thought maybe they were going to be held hostage for lands or negotiation, something along those lines, by Shadahar. However, no negotiations ever came. No return ever came. And so there was a war of sorts that was declared between the dwarves and the Shadahar. However, the dwarves are much more entrenched in the mountain. They didn't, they sent out an expeditionary war force, but the Shadahar, who are much more mobile, they are much more able to adapt and live on the surface than the dwarves who were just under the mountain. And so the Shadahar pretty well crushed them, and a forcible peace between the two had endured, because the Shadahar tried to push further in, but the dwarves can hold the mountain very, very well, as that is their realm, that was their land. After a while of the siege not working and neither a counterattack by the dwarves, a very tense peace, quote unquote, was brought up, which is pretty well the Shadahar just developed around the dwarves, and the dwarves couldn't really do anything about it. Because
kind of annexed them without really annexing them.
And so the Empire really became that. It went from its own kingdom, making contact with another kingdom, to effectively absorbing the Dwarven kingdom, making it into an empire that then went on to spread through the lands in this territory. And ever since then, the dwarves have committed to send a portion of their populace to live on the lands so that they can scout, gather information, and also just learn to be mobile on the land, to use the trees and the water and these other things, and not just be hermetically sealed in a mountain. And so that started a little bit of outside the mountain expansion, and as well, the royalty from that point was split, so that the king and the queen were at any point in time never together in case there was an attack. And the way that they figured it would work best is if the queen rules the countryside, then she can be protected in the mountain, but that means the events would have to be carried to her in truth. Like they would have to be reported with accuracy, with detail, so she could make a decision from under the mountain regarding the countryside. Same with the king for the events in the mountain. That way, communications had to stay open, and there had to be clarity.
Mm-hmm.
There had to be messages that were passed, so that this split leadership. So Victor and Victoria are like they're a loving couple, but by necessity they have to live apart. They can't be in the same place except on rare and secret occasion for, affairs of the state or affairs of the heart, so to speak. Wink, wink. Progeny needs to happen if the royal bloodline is
heirs to the thrones.
But very few, if any, people know that. So anyway, that is what you end up learning. Your day will conclude with a scenic tour, landing, helping them now load, to your detriment, full crates of things, full milk cans, the products of the countryside, which are being loaded back up to take to the mountain, which normally can't produce these types of goods.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll land. A little bit of time will pass. I mean, you might be able to meet up with Bright or see maybe Celine if she's probably spent her day in the graveyard. And then you're going to hear the bell that will take you to the Civic Center. But you also learn that, this is Windar's regular route. So anytime that you see his ship, which flies these colors and has this particular configuration, that's him. And if you ever need your head pulled out of your ass, he'll be happy to help you do that.
Much appreciated. That's actually very insightful.
Yeah, forget about it. He dismisses you and flies off towards Ailartsua with a full ship.
All right. Well, upon hearing that bell, I'm going to go and see about joining everyone at the Civic Center, and we go take off to see the king.
Yep.
King Victor Io.
Bright, are you still here? Uh-oh. We might have... Fluffy, are you here? Oh, Shadowland. Okay. That's fine. Things happen. All right, as long as you can at least listen, because I'm going to give you some of the other notes that the others had gathered. As you're assembled, Galvin, Emmy, Mox, Reaper, and Bard are going to be there to take you as well. But you're going to have some time. Like, you arrived, they congratulated you on that. They need to prepare a couple things, so wait here, and they'll call you out to the wagon, so you don't have to walk. And while you're doing so, I'm going to provide a couple other details that you would get through Noralai and through Loki and through Celine. They are going to be able to, from their own areas, sort of confirm the aspects that you as Mordecai and Bright have learned. Like, the graveyard does seem to go back a ways that would help support what Bright found out from the farmer, maybe in more dedicated chronological terms than just farmers' anecdotes of his family history. And,
Because it's going to be like actual dates on tombstones and
yeah,
things.
more akin to that, as well as some other architectural changes in the grave markers. Maybe some other things that Celine has been able to understand. I don't know if she has comprehend languages, or if so, not today.
No.
But things that she
Comprehend
can
languages is not
glean.
on the cleric list.
Plus, there actually, if lethality piloting Celine was here and did this, there was someone in the graveyard that he could talk to. That can translate the tombstones and the other things as well. But Celine is going to be able to give a confirmation to a lot of the things that Bright got through farmers' anecdotes and the natural history of the land. And this is also going to back up what you had learned, that there was a war, and that there's an ongoing tension with Shadahar, because there are people who have died in battles, or at least they call them battles, whether they're a raid or people acting maybe not even in an official capacity from Shadahar, but bandits in the mountains who aren't dwarves come down and, maybe bully
Ransack.
them, or even pretend to like they're wearing army uniforms even though they're not, because there's this peace between them. And the Shadahar are much more well equipped than the dwarves are, especially these hill dwarves. Like they've taken to the lands rather well, but it's not the same necessarily, especially not having the dominance in the sky or the ability to use things. So Celine can fill that in. I'll send some notes over to lethality so that when we pick up next week, maybe he can put his own spin through Celine on some of the things that were discovered. But he can bring some confirmation, some new facts to you all as well, to both Bright and Mordecai in different realms. And there's new information of a sort. Loki and Noralai, having gone to school for a day, could sit down to a teacher or listen to fairy tales or talk to the kids and what they're learning. They also learned what eatlins were. And they can also tell you a little bit about the history, because that's being taught to the kids, where you get the old King Bahamu's name, and the queen's name at the time was Tuwu. And so it was that they were commonly called as a very if the shine of history speaks to truth, they were called Tuwumba, as sort of a couple. Like that was their power couple name among the dwarves. And then they learned about this tragedy that that's when the Fire Nation attacked, and the king was killed. The queen was abducted, along with the other possible immediate heirs to the throne, so that it interrupted the line of dwarven succession. And they also ended up getting the names of the three sisters that were abducted, along with the queen. And as well, they got a little bit more clarification that the family name of your host family is, as you hear it pronounced, more like Canberra, but it's crown bearer. And the family history is that they are the ones who came out with, when the royalty split, they bore the crown of the king and the king out to the countryside. And just with the way that the accent works and the inflection in common, crown bearer kind of sounds like Canberra. And there's that history. But the queen was Tuwu. Then you had the littlest sister, whose name is Idni. She was a very meek girl. So they always called her Silent S, because she was very quiet and meek. So you have Idni, Adela, Melba, and Alice. Elise. I'll write the names down for you as well. But you had all of them, and they were known. The royal line was the Tamworths. So, you learn basic civics from the elementary school. Dun, dun, dun. Right. Yeah. So, in a sense, you would get some overlapping, but depending on the flavor of information you wanted, it would be a little bit different. So what we'll do is while you're here, actually, can Fluffy, if you're still in roll 20, I mean, I see your symbol over here. With Bright, can you give an investigation check for me? And you can do it at advantage. And if you're not here, I guess I can grab your character sheet. Okay. Okay. So you're trying to put all this together into like a coherent, I guess, like a timeline. And what you are able to glean is for sure these events, even a couple, like, they sort of touched on classic fairy tales that could have been picked up at the school, and even some references from the graveyard. Are like, these people are from that age that you saw in the cave beneath the city. Like, these are the original dwarves with the anecdotes. Now, stuff changes over time, and to an effect from what you saw down there and what you're hearing here, there are enough similarities that what seemed to be revelation to you, if confusing revelation, or even audacious, to the point where, was this actually all a complete lie? But what you're getting from the overall experience is that these people were those people that were in that first image that you saw before you got into the temple. When you walked through that very tall, the very tall
skull.
The skull.
Based on that, what kind of time frame are we looking at? Thousands of years ago? Hundreds of years ago?
No, thousands. Many thousands, yes.
Many thousands.
Which
so
now
Bahamut Tamworth was a king thousands of years ago.
Yes. Because this would have been, if you believe anything in that story or illusion, this would have been when they had originally fled the Mesotopia region when the war broke out between dragons, giants, fae, and fiends. Because there was a mass exodus.
Right.
And then at some other point, there was another exodus after the original, when people fled the area because, not just of the war, but for the reason that crater is sitting in the east. And that might time up with the founding of Shadahar. Then that would coincide over time with the run-ins with the dwarves here. And now might coincide with why they're making a push back to the south. Not the dwarves, but the Shadahar. Who might, in a sense, be the original people.
If we can get notes on that, that would be great, because I want notes.
Okay.
Because I remember it better when it's written out. But yeah. Very interesting.
And then, so you'll get to compare in the Civic Hall, see, quaint works of art and other things that would be in in sort of a rural city hall environment. Then at some point, Emmy would hop in, come gather you, and you will be on your way. You're gonna go see by the evening, if all goes well, King Victor Io, or Eo, depending on your pronunciation. You Southerners, and your weirdly accented common. But thank you, Fluffy and Coffee, for going through it here. And I know we lost Dark Wolf along the way, and Lethality had to bow out from the start. But hopefully we'll get the gang back together. You will have an interesting wagon ride, a meeting with the king, and we'll see what happens from there. And by the way, you can be caught up if Bright chooses to reveal that she just had she manifested Professor Cypher to handle the cow patties in the pasture.
I will relay that, but I'm sorry for being away for just a minute. I will relay that, but I might want to do that in character next week.
Yeah.
It'll be here for it.
Just as a prompt or a cue, we'll wait for everyone to be here. Especially, I don't know if Lethality will watch the VOD, but you can lay that at his doorstep when he arrives, and and he'll have some fun with it. All right.
Delightful.
So what we're gonna do now is we are going to go. Speaking of gnomes, we are going to go visit someone who is also playing Dungeons and Dragons on this Friday night. We're going to go raid Gnome Anne. And yeah, it looks like Roll20's open, unless that's a map making, because I see digital art up too. So I don't know if it might be custom assets or something. But everyone, come along with me. Let's go raid Gnome Anne and continue some D&D adventures. Thank you for joining us tonight. I hope you had fun too. You enjoyed the accents or any of the puns and references. They were strewn about, because whether you know it or not, they're there. They're always there. So
after this raid, we'll be going to where no man has gone before.
Yes, very much so. She can often be found there.
Lamau.
And I'll see you there. If y'all need me, I will be in Discord as well. And I will come back for the last broadcast tomorrow night. I will be from the store, and I'll have a 5-inch Glublin that maybe I want to paint up for someone for somehow or some way. So I'll figure that out. But it's an impressive sculpt. Hopefully I'll see you there, and we'll finish out that week. And then I think the following week I might be able to broadcast from home base. And maybe we can play some video games together. We'll play some Tales of Symphonia or something. Anyway, goodbye, everyone. See you in No Man's channel and on Discord. Be well.